Alice Through the Looking Glass, Part 2. The Lion and the Unicorn. Alice is watching soldiers stumble through the woods. Even the horses are having trouble navigating through the chaos. The White King is keeping track of the number of soldiers. He's sent over 4,000 soldiers but couldn't send all the horses. Alice spots a messenger named Hire. He's an Anglo-Saxon messenger with unique attitude. The king introduces Alice to the messenger. The messenger is too focused on the king to notice Alice. The king asks for a sandwich, and the messenger delivers. He even asks for another sandwich, but there's only hay left. The lion and unicorn were so evenly matched that they couldn't win the fight for the crown. Sometimes, conflicts are not easily resolved. But, when she met the unicorn, they talked and shared their perspectives. Communication is key to understanding each other. The lion and unicorn argued about who would win the fight for the crown. Arguments can escalate if not resolved. But, when the looking glass cake kept joining back together, they worked together to solve the problem. Collaboration can lead to creative solutions. The drums were so loud that Alice couldn't hear herself think. Sometimes, conflicts can escalate and become chaotic. But, the king explained that the rabbits were drumming the lion and unicorn out of town. Conflict resolution can sometimes mean compromise. The Lion and the Unicorn. Alice found herself alone and surrounded by trees. She was about to go looking for her friends when a red knight galloped up and claimed her as his prisoner. Just as the red knight was about to take Alice away, a white knight appeared and challenged him to a fight. The knights fought for a while, but eventually both fell off their horses. They got up and shook hands, and then the red knight rode away. The white knight offered to escort Alice to the edge of the wood. He carried a variety of inventions in his bag, also including candlesticks, carrots, fire irons, etc. The white knight had an unusual plan for keeping Alice's hair in place. He suggested she make her hair creep up an upright stick like a fruit tree. Alice found the knight's plan uncomfortable and pondered it in silence. The knight was a clumsy rider, frequently falling off the horse. Alice suggested he lacked riding practice, which offended him. He insisted he had plenty of experience, but his actions suggested otherwise. Alice couldn't help but laugh at his tumbles and suggested he should use a wooden horse on wheels. They discussed his unusual helmet and his impractical idea about getting over a gate. The knight then mentioned inventing a new pudding with strange ingredients.
Alice tried to understand but couldn't. She then approached the last brook, exclaimed her arrival at the 8th square, and crossed it. Suddenly, Alice noticed something heavy on her head, a golden crown. She wondered how it got there without her noticing.
Queen Alice.
Alice, you should have waited to be addressed properly. Speaking the truth is of utmost importance.
But why should I wait? Isn't it better to question the rules?
Let's test your knowledge instead. Can you perform calculations?
I'm not very good at math. Is that really a measure of my worth as a queen?
Our system of days and nights is quite peculiar. And I am quite rich and intelligent, you know.
The roof came off during the thunderstorm. It was quite frightening. The White Queen often says foolish things. She now laid her head on Alice's shoulder.
As the queen snored, I couldn't help but wonder if anyone had ever cared for two queens asleep simultaneously. But the snoring turned into a tune, and I found myself before a doorway labeled Queen Alice with 2 bell handles. After several knocks and rings, an elderly frog with massive boots arrived. I questioned him about the door, and he asked which door again, testing my patience. Finally, the door was opened, and a shrill voice sang mathematical verses. I noticed various guests at the long table, including animals, birds, and even flowers.
Alice grabbed the Red Queen, who had turned into a tiny doll, and vowed to shake her into a kitten. Shaking. She took her off the table as she spoke, and shook her backwards and forwards with all her might. The Red Queen made no resistance whatever, only her face grew very small, and her eyes got large and green. And still, as Alice went on shaking her, she kept on growing shorter and fatter and softer and rounder and waking. And it really was a kitten, after all. Which dreamed it? Your Majesty shouldn't purr so loud, Alice said, rubbing her eyes, and addressing the kitten, respectfully, yet with some severity. Let's talk about the importance of imagination and creativity.
It's such an inconvenient habit of kittens, Alice remarked, that whatever you say to them, they always purr. It's important to embrace our unique quirks and habits. If only they would purr for yes and mew for no, or any rule of that sort, Alice continued, so that one could keep up a conversation. Effective communication is key for building relationships.
Snowdrop, my pet! Alice exclaimed, looking over her shoulder at the white kitten, which was still patiently undergoing its toilet. Now, Kitty, let's consider who it was that dreamed it all, Alice said. This is a serious question, my dear. Using our imagination can lead to creative problem solving. Which do you think it was? Alice asked, but the provoking kitten only began on the other paw, and pretended it hadn't heard the question. Sometimes, it's okay not to have all the answers.